Macey is the human. That day was cursed, I tell you, cursed. As if the animals at Bittersweet Farm acting all screwy wasn't enough, my dependable red Bessie was on the fritz too. And I'm driving along, I'm feeling the occasional clunk, then a louder clunk, and then finally it's all clunk dilly clunk, clunk, a flat tire. And of course, it couldn't be at the back. No, it had to be at the front. And of course, it couldn't be near one of the gas stations we went past. No, it had to be in the middle of the longest patch of forest on the whole darn trip. So, I pull over to the side and take a look at the problem. Just my luck, I drove over some screw. It's big, and it's wedged in one of the grooves real tight. I mean, it couldn't have been more perfectly placed if it had been done on purpose. Now, I'm working against the clock here. Sure, the cow is calm and docile at the moment, but as the day goes on, she may get cranky, and that's a half a ton of cranky, 1,000 pounds. So I've got to deal with the situation, but I don't know how. I can't fix that flat with her on the truck adding all the weight. There's no way I'm going to take her off because I don't have any assistance to make sure I'll be able to get her back in afterwards. Audrey, the cow. Moo. After we came to a stop, I listened as the driver came to inspect the problem. Then I heard him cursing up a storm, stomping about and kicking the trunk, followed by some hobbling and even more cursing. I didn't waste any time. I slid Buster's latch catcher out of my mouth, and I kept the end grasped tightly in my teeth. I slipped the noose end between the slats of the carriage wall and carefully maneuvered it toward the locking bit on the bolt. I fiddled and fiddled until finally I snagged it. Suddenly, the driver is walking to the back of the truck, and he's getting himself more and more worked up. I quickly slurped the latch catcher back into my mouth while he's shouting, "What am I supposed to do now, cow? Huh? You got a plan? Because I sure don't have a plan." Well, this is what Mother had called a rhetorical question, because it didn't require an answer. Humans also talk to us four-leggers without any expectation of a reply. I remained still and calm and hoped he didn't notice the bolt's locking bit out of the groove. Lucky for me, he sees a car approaching. So he attempts to flag it down so he can ask them to send a tow truck from the last garage we passed. I go back to my work, catching the locking bit and using it to slide the bolt sideways and out of the latch. As I'm performing this delicate operation, I can hear two voices above me. One of them says, "Check it out. This is so awesome. The cow has got some moves." The other is saying, "Totally," over and over. Once I finished opening the latch, I looked up to discover that the commentators are two crows sitting on a telephone wire. Judging by their vocabulary, I took them to be teenagers. But there was no time for pleasantries. Making sure that the driver was still out of sight and talking to the driver of the car, I nudged the back gate open. I took a deep breath. I imagined myself as light as a happy sheep, and then I jumped down from the truck. I wouldn't claim that I was graceful, but neither was I injured. I was ready to make my escape, but I suddenly noticed that there were perimeter fences just inside the forest. How was I ever going to enter it now? Marlin the crow. "Ah, so like this cow is doing some major tool use at the back of this truck, right? And I'm saying to my bud Jimmy D, 'Hey, check it out.' And Jimmy D is like totally into it too. So the cow opens the latch and she pushes open the gate and she jumps off like it's some kind of prison break, right? And the human is a doofus. He doesn't even notice." Jimmy D. "It was totally wicked." Marlin. "So true. But now the cow isn't moving, right? And I figure it's because of the fences, because cows can't fly, which is a real drag. But I know there's a gap she can go through, and I'm thinking maybe she and I can do some business, right? Because the Thule thing would be awesome to possess." Jimmy D. "Only it would be totally wicked." Audrey the cow. "The crow offered to show me a way into the forest in exchange for Buster's latch catcher. In all honesty, I had no reason to hold on to it, and I would likely have just dropped it on the ground anyway, but it was clear that he saw some use in possessing it. And if the trade allowed me to get some critical information, then all the better for me. I was just about to agree when the car drove off, honking a warning about my escape. That was quickly followed by angry shouts as the driver rushed towards me. I was so close to gaining my freedom, so close that I could taste it, as they say. How could all the planning and effort and sacrifice by so many animals be stopped short, now at the cusp? It was unfair. I wouldn't allow it. I quickly negotiated the terms of the exchange. I said to the crows, "If one of you can keep him busy while the other one takes me to the gap in the fence, then you have yourself a deal." Marlin: "It was like bonus. We get the Thule thing, and we get to annoy a human. Deal on." Casey: "Jumpin' June bugs. You want to know why I made the switch to hauling furniture and appliances instead of cows and pigs? I'll tell you why. 1. Possessed farm animals. 2. A cow that magically opens latched gates. And 3. A crow attacking my head to the point where I had to throw myself under Red Bessie to keep from having all my hair plucked out. That's why." Audrey: "Ooh. And so my first step into freedom required some deception on my part. It wouldn't be the last." The crow led me a short distance down the road to where a portion of the fence was crushed flat by a fallen oak. Carefully, delicately, I picked my way across the mangled barrier, hopped over the tree using the skills I had honed a year earlier, and then walked past a curtain of ferns and low branches, finally slipping away into the dark unknown.